Welcome back. The world is watching events unfold in two other flashpoints in Africa. In Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan is struggling to deal with the Islamist group Boko Haram that has unleashed terror across the nation. In South Sudan, tens of thousands are homeless as the world's youngest nation reels from months of ethnic violence. So what can be done to end this cycle of violence and suffering? There are many individuals and organizations trying to help those caught in conflict zones. And our next guest is one of them. Joining me now from Los Angeles is Hollywood actor and activist Hakeem Kae-Kazim, who's featured in films such as Hotel Rwanda, Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as the hit TV show 24. He's also a global ambassador for Africa 2.0, an organization of young African leaders that want to improve the region. Hakeem, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Let me ask you first, what is Africa 2.0?
Well, Africa 2.0 is an Africa-wide an organization that basically is bringing in young sort of leaders and entrepreneurs to really try and think of ideas that can help push Africa forward. It's an organization which is more of a think tank rather than a think tank. So in other words, they're really into trying to not just bring these ideas together, but also make these ideas happen. So that's what Africa 2.0 is. It's really about trying to inspire and change the sort of notions of leadership within the continent, as well as trying to sort of find sustainable solutions as we move forward.
Right now, what are the projects that you're working on with the organization?
Well, at the moment, I've literally just started to become a global ambassador, and my main thing is to really create awareness. And so, coming on programs like this and doing interviews like that, just so people can actually go to their website and go to their manifesto and really find out more about what they are, who they are, and why they are. And hopefully that will inspire not only Africans within Africa, but also Africans within the diaspora to sort of take a better look and really trying to come together and see how Africa in the next century can really come into its own. And you know, we need to be inspired by the idea of Africa coming into its own. So that's what Africa 2.0 is there to try and do.
Right, so you're almost a world citizen. You were born in Nigeria, you went to school in London, and then you lived for a long time in South Africa. And when you look at some of the problems in Africa, they seem so daunting. I mean, if you look at some of the flashpoints, for instance, you know, Central African Republic, Congo, Somalia, Zimbabwe, do you get the sense that in many instances there is no sense of accountability among Africa's leaders for what is going on in the continent?
I think that's got a lot to do with it, and I think the unfortunate thing has been that you know, post-colonial Africa never took the advice of people like Kwame Nkrumah, which meant that, you know, we as Africans need to really look to ourselves as one and come together. And this is what an organization like Africa 2.0 is trying to do. It's really trying to look at Africa as one entity, in the same way that, you know, you've got the European Union or you've got the United States. That's really where we need to go with our continent. And because of that, I think a lot of the leaders, there isn't enough accountability. There isn't enough responsibility on their part in terms of their vision for we lack leaders with vision. We lack leaders with the notion that, you know, we as Africa can be a wonderful, great power, and we are a wonderful, great people, and our leaders must therefore be in position to help lift us up as a people. But unfortunately, we don't really have visionary leaders. All those leaders that we did have, unfortunately, were either killed off. I mean, you know, you think of Patrice Lumumba, you think of Thomas Sankara. So, you know, we're in this weird stalemate position. After colonialism, this post-colonial, we still have a lot of the leaders on the continent still from that particular period. And I think it's time for a change. It's time for a change in the headspace, and it's certainly a time for this new, younger, fresher sort of leaders to come through that really have a real love for the continent and a real love for the people on the continent.
Right, you speak of the political challenges that Africa faces, but there's another one which is more immediate, and that is the economic challenges. I mean, how does one explain that here you have a continent with many countries in it that are so resource rich? Take Nigeria, the country where you were born, for instance. It's one of the world's biggest producers of oil, yet it also has such high rates of poverty. There seems to be this enormous gap between those who govern and those who are governed.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I mean, it's a massive sort of question, but I mean, I believe on a personal level, part of the problem is that you know, they haven't unshackled, colonialism hasn't completely been unshackled from the continent, and I think a lot of our leaders have been indebted or co-opted into these multinationals, which are now the front for the old colonial powers. And I think that because of that, you know, poverty and the depth of inequality are front and center on our continent. We don't have leaders that, unfortunately, that really care for who we are as Africans and really want to embrace and pick us up as Africans. You know, and I find that terribly sad. You know, but I believe that our day is coming. You know, when we look at it from the outside, when we look at our perception, or people's perceptions of us on the outside, it's always, you know, we are a people of complete poverty, we're incapable, we're starving, and we're not. We have the richest continent on the planet. But we need leaders that really want to embrace who we are and really want to look inwards and really want to sort of, we could have the most beautiful continent on this planet, and we need people with that vision that really want to empower us and want us to be front and center.
So here you have an organization like yours, Africa 2.0, bringing new ideas, new approaches to the problems in Africa. What kind of response are you getting?
Well, you know, so far, I mean, as I said, it's very early days for me as being part of this organization, but, you know, I think the response has been fantastic. You know, they've had great people come on board. I mean, there's the Mo Ibrahim's foundation has supported it. I know there's the African Bank have come in and supported the Dangote group. So there are a lot of, and 40 ministers of education on the continent have come in there and given their voice to it. It's only been going since 2010, but there seems to be a wonderful momentum behind it. And you know, I hope, you know, me appearing on programs like this will get young Africans to come in and look at their website and really try and see where they can be part of it and where they can actually help support and push this program and come together in terms of thought and analysis of how we as Africans move our continent forward.
Let's look at some specific problems in Africa. Some of the problems have been making news. They've been dominating the news over the past few weeks. I mean, you take the kidnapping of the schoolgirls in Nigeria, for instance, by the radical group Boko Haram. Why was the Nigerian government, in your view, so reluctant to act against this group? And they were very slow once they did start acting as well.
You know, it's it's a very, very difficult question for me to answer, not really being on the ground as much as I should be in Nigeria. But, you know, some of the things that I'm hearing is that, you know, some of it is to do with the fact that there's a lot of money involved. I mean, you know, apparently the defense budget is a good couple of $1 billion, but I don't know if that money is going in where it should. Again, we go back to the levels of corruption within the continent and within the country. So, I mean, again, I can't speak firmly on any of these issues because I don't know, but these are some of the sort of hypothetical sort of things that have come my way in terms of trying to analyze the situation on the ground in Nigeria and why the Nigerian military and government has been so sort of inept in trying to, you know, get these girls back.
Right. Another problem which has been preoccupying Africa, and that is the conflict in South Sudan. What do you think is the best case scenario for resolving that?
Again, you know, we have here, I mean, again, is it the clash of egos? I don't know enough, again, about, you know, the internal politics of the country, but, you know, from an outside view, you know, you've got these two men from two completely different tribes, and there seems to be a clash of egos, and then everybody on the ground seems to suffer. You know, Sudan is an oil-rich nation, and surely there must be a way of these people coming together for the common good, for the good of all the people and all the tribes, you know, of the country. Again, as I said, you know, we as Africans, when we're on the outside, we're looked at as one block of one type of people. We're not distinguished between a Yoruba and a Dinka, or, you know, so I think we must start to grasp that and gain an understanding in that and try to look at ourselves as one people and start to improve who we are as one people. And I think, again, in South Sudan, this is a classic example of, for me, of leadership, not really, more into their ego and personal financial gain than the greater good of the people on the ground.
Just wondering if you could give us a little more thoughts on that. I mean, you've become a role model for many young Africans. I mean, what would your advice to them be?
You know, I think my advice would be to sort of really start to look inwards to the continent. I mean, a lot of young Africans, they all tell me, oh, I can't wait to get to America. I want to go to Europe. No one wants to be in Africa. And yeah, I understand that in one sort of sense. And, I've been lucky enough to have gone on the outside, but I also feel and see the potential of what we have as a continent. And I'm going back to Africa because I think that's where I need to be. So my advice to young people would be, create the dream that you want to live, create it at home, be the change that you want to see, and I think once we start to do that, we will emerge and we will have a beautiful, wonderful continent.
Hakeem Kae-Kazim, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Lovely to see you. Lovely to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is it for this edition of The Heat. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us your questions, comments, and story ideas to theheat@cctv-america.com. And now you can listen to CCTV America programs 24/7 from anywhere in the United States by simply calling 231-460-1199. I'm Arnold Naidu in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us.